Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and in this video we're going to be taking a glance at the patch 5.58 patch notes. I was working on a different video, and I forgot the servers were going to go down pretty early for this. Fortunately, this is another video entirely, so let's get to it. Now, patch 5.58 does not have a whole lot in it. People who are very familiar with the game's patch cycle kind of knew what was going to be in it already, whereas newer players were likely wondering, what was actually going to be in this. There was one thing in particular a lot of people thought was going to be in patch 5.58, and I helped perpetuate that incorrect information, even though I did make a correction video probably about 3 weeks to a month ago. And a lot of people thought data center travel was going to be in patch 5.58. This was due to two reasons. One, there were leaked Steam patch notes officially posted on Steam stating that patch 5.58 would be bringing data center travel. So a lot of people just rode with that information. It circulated around and became the norm expected. Then the live letter happened at FanFest. This was day 2 of FanFest. And for some reason, I guess we were all just talking over the live letter because a lot of people missed this, myself included. We just didn't hear that they said that data center travel would be between September and November. Roll the clip.
タイミングを作ろうと思っております。
So obviously in November, Endwalker will release. In the period between September and November, we will probably have Media Tour, possibly some other things to look forward to, such as the DC travel pre-release testing phase. But we're not sure on the details. We'll let you know when we can.
So yeah, data center travel is not going to be for a couple of months still. I know I myself am planning an event for that where I plan on helping people with their early game queues, and that's going to be a whole fun thing, but we don't know when it's officially going to be happening just yet. Just sometime between September and November. As for what's actually in patch 5.58, let's get to it. EXP gained by trust NPCs has been increased. This is the second time they've done it. I don't think you'll need your trusts leveled in order to use them and to level them further in Endwalker. But, I mean, this is something to do. Getting them leveled does allow you to change their outfits and gives you a title. So if you're an achievement hunter, this just made that specific achievement a little bit easier to work on. As for battle system, this was something we definitely expected. Diamond Weapon Extreme has been moved from the Raid Finder to the Duty Finder. The drop rate on the Dragon Mount has been increased, and you can now exchange 99 Diamond Totems for the trumpet itself. For some people, this is the final key they needed in order to get their Mecha Dragon Mount. I fortunately got mine, so when Emerald Weapon released, I was all good to go on that front. But if you're still looking to collect that, now is going to be the time to do it. And also removing a bunch of the remaining weekly restrictions that are on content. First of all, the Blades of Lost Antiquity from Eden's Promised Eternity Normal have been removed. You can farm these now in order to purchase a Tombstone weapon if you haven't done the Resistance weapon for some reason or another, or you don't want to do another one after your first. Now also, the Strength of the Echo granted in Savage, the latest raid tier in Savage, has been increased to 15%. I really need to do E12 on my main. A, I never did it on my main, I only did it on Primal, and B, I'd like to have a Savage weapon ready for Reaper and Sage, just because. So that's going to make things a whole lot easier for anyone looking to farm up some gear for leveling or to prepare stuff for Reaper and Sage. Then they also made some adjustments to Tower of Paradigm's Breach. They basically got rid of the remaining weekly restrictions. You can get as many pieces of gear as you want. You can get as many coins as you want to farm upgrade materials for tombstones. And then also all of the unique items, the cards, the hairstyles, all this stuff is now available on a per alliance basis. So no matter which alliance you're in, you'll get your own loot table. You'll only be rolling against 7 other people for any of these rewards when they actually drop. And I'm sure they all drop. It's been a while since I've been in there, so I can't remember precisely. They also buffed a few things about the resistance weapon and actually getting through that. So they made it so it's quicker to get through ranks 1 through 14 when it comes to your resistance rank in the Boshan Southern Front and Zadnor, just to help speed things up. This looks like they're starting to future-proof it even more than they already did. So this is to help it in Endwalker when it's a little less populated, a lot less populated, for people looking to progress through the story and do everything. Also, they made some pretty serious adjustments to Lacus Latori. These definitely aimed at Endwalker when they expect a lot less people to be participating in it overall. When fighting the 4th Legion Helldiver, that's the boss on the bottom for the first part of the encounter, damage dealt by consecutive hits of the Infrared Blast have been reduced. That's the tether where you have to prevent them from actually hitting the armor as you're guarding it, and you usually need a different person to take each of the 4 tethers, otherwise it'll kill the person if they take 2 in a row. And yeah, they're reducing that so you could do it with very few people. So it basically probably isn't too much of a threat at all anymore. Maximum HP of the NPC ally tunnel armor has been increased. I've never seen that thing die, But sure, that's another thing to help people who are low-manning it, I suppose. The mechanic requiring 6 players to step on switches to open a gate no longer requires players to remain on said switches. This is the prisoner escape section. It's something that I totally expected them to do, something I called actually verbatim a few weeks ago, and they're doing it. So now you can actually do Cashram Lacus Latori with less than 6 people, if that happens to be the thing that you've queued yourself into. They also nerfed the critical engagement in Zadnor, the On Serpent's Wings one. This is the one at the very end where the 3 serpents charge up the Enrage, and if they cast it, you die. They just made the Enrage 30 seconds longer. I have seen that Enrage kill quite a few groups, and if you not pack and lost Assassinate or lost Death, then this is something that is definitely going to be useful to people actually doing it in there. They also made changes to a few of the Memory of the Dying. So the Loathsome Memory of the Dying now drops more frequently from critical engagements. So Cashram Lacus Latori gives 5 of these. So 3 Castrams finishes that entire step of a resistance weapon. But this makes it so you don't have to do Castram as much. There's definitely less onus to do it if the critical engagements themselves are dropping it at a more frequent pace. They also buffed the drop rate of Haunting Memories of the Dying. So if you're doing Fates, these are going to be even faster. They've already buffed this once before, and now they're buffing it again, so that's going to speed it up quite a bit. But also, Alliance Raids are now 3 per completion. So 5 Alliance Raids of each tier, so Heaven's Ward and Stormblood, will finish these steps for you. That's going to make it a really, really viable alternative to Fates, depending on what the Fate drop rate actually looks like and what your queue times look like for the Alliance Raids. Solid buffs. But I honestly think the 20-20-20 memory step is something that they might want to look at as well. It's the very first step that you have to do after you actually get into the Southern Front. Personally, I don't think it's a hard step. I think both the options are fine. But I think it is one of the more tedious steps, whereas this is a buff to a one-time step and a buff to a step that was already pretty easy. One that I think actually makes more sense than the one below it. So I think that would be the next thing, is the 20-20-20 memory step. I do also see Delubrum probably getting some changes in Endwalker's release itself, but until then, it's going to remain the way it is now. Now, speaking about upgrading your gear, the Crypt Esther, which is the item you'll need to actually get a Tombstone weapon, you can actually get this, or I'm sorry, upgrade your Tombstone weapon from item level 520 to 30. You can now purchase this with manufactured coins, Puppets coins, and Breach coins, which are now unlocked as well. So you can get a whole slew of item level 530 weapons, assuming you have the Tombstones and the purchase materials in order to do so. And since they unlocked Eden's Promise Normal, you should be a-okay to go from that. Now they have a bunch of PvP adjustments. I don't have much to say about these, but it looks like there are some buffs to pretty much everyone except for, I believe there was one job. I think Black Mage actually saw a slight nerf. So shared tank actions, this is a lower recast time. Etheric Burst for shared magic DPS actions has been buffed by a few hundred potency. Atonement increases the oath gauge by 10. Glory Slash increases by 10. So that's another thing. Dark Knight now absorbs HP on both Bloodspiller and Quietus, 100% of the damage at that. Gunbreaker now has Drawn Junction. Its debuff lasts 15 seconds. However, the beneficial effect, this is a nerf, has been reduced from 60 seconds down to 15 seconds. So it's supposed to be a far more one-to-one, I'm better than you time frame with Drawn Junction. Monk's Tornado Kick also saw a slight nerf of 200 potency. Machinist Heat Blast went up by 200 potency. Dancer saw what looks like some low-end potency buffs right here. So Saber Dance just 200 higher, but for these 0 and 2 steps, looks like the minimums have been brought up for if you only perform 0 or 1. Well, actually, no, I guess the minimum for these, I guess, just has gone up altogether. Yeah, just the minimums for the, I guess that's the split damage. This is probably the first target. This is all the ones after. I don't know. I don't PvP. Either way, it's buffs. It's buffs for this as well. All the minimums up here have been brought up as well. Black Mage needs more damage to proc Thundercloud in PvP. They needs to do 8,000 instead of 6,000 now. Summoner's Wither got a 600 potency buff. Scholar's Aura Blast got a 400 potency buff, and this is a lot. Additional effect, Fairy Gauge. Oh, okay. Oh, increases Fairy Gauge by 10 when used to restore itself. Okay. Okay, so this looks like it just gives 10 every time, whereas this used to give 5 per target. So it's a little more effective when there's less targets in range. That's if I'm understanding it correctly. Dissipation apparently increases damage up by 25% also. That's just been added. And it lasts 4 more seconds. So Scholar has some pretty serious buffs. Astro, Gravity's potency was doubled, and then Lady and Lord had their durations buffed by 50%. And that's to go along with the Season 20 of the Feast beginning. One of the final competitive seasons we're going to see for quite some time. If you're someone who's never done competitive PvP, this might be one of your last opportunities to do it for quite some time, because Endwalker is not going to have a Season 21 until further notice while they're working on all the PvP reworks and absorbing feedback and stuff to see what they really want to do for the competitive scene for Final Fantasy XIV. So if you want to earn those top 100 rewards, now might be the time to actually consider doing it. And this one to me is just funny. In an effort to ease server congestion, players who are inactive for more than 30 minutes will be logged out automatically. That was a weird way to say automatically. The server logins have been insane as of late. The popularity of the game has been skyrocketing. Everyone's picking up on it and trying it out, going through the story the first time and trying out all sorts of things about the game. It's been really awesome to see, and because of it, there's just a lot more general interest, and there's login queues nonstop. People who are AFKing are going to be kicked now. There are ways around it, but hopefully people understand that they're helping by not being on the game if they're not actually playing it, even if they're afraid they may not be able to get back in themselves if they are actually forced out. Now, as for resolved issues, I usually don't go over these too much. There's usually some graphics, some text, NPCs not behaving as intended or not appearing, bosses disappearing. I see that one with Epic of Alexander on PS5. Certain graphics, displaying... Wait. Blade's Fortitude, okay. My weapon isn't on here because I was worried that there might have been something cool that they actually were about to undo. Full inventory. This is a warning that wasn't displaying. For subcommands, the character's homeworld was unavailable. Prevent the player from accessing the character selection screen. Oh, that's a pretty serious bug that's definitely been brought about as of late. Minor text issues. Text in the field entry of Fran had not been adjusted, which I remember them mentioning in the previous patch. And other various issues have also been addressed. I wonder if the PS5 FPS dips. I've heard on stairs it's actually really bad, and during certain engagements and certain encounters that it can also get really bad. I've heard it's almost better FPS wise to play the PS4 version on PS5 as opposed to upgrading to the PS5 version or playing it, but that's not first-hand accounts, so you'd have to have someone who's actually playing on the PS5 version tell you about all that. But anyway, really quick thing for patch 5.58. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned because I've got a ton of Final Fantasy XIV content coming on the channel. So many ideas. You guys have no idea how many ideas I have for the channel. So anyway, thanks, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care.